Go. Good morning. This is Amy Gamber at TAR. This is Cullie Burris, who's our presenter for today. Welcome to the commercial webinar. It's our final one for the year. And our topic is social media for commercial brokers and agents. Just a couple of things to run through. This webinar is about an hour and it's not approved for CE credit. If you have technical issues with Zoom, I'm going to give you the phone number for their tech support. It is 888-799-9666, extension 2. Please don't call TAR with questions about the webinar because we don't run Zoom and our people at our front desk are great, but they don't know how to fix it. Everybody who's watching the webinar is muted. There is a question box. If you mouse over your screen, you will see some icons that pop up at the bottom of the screen, and there is a Q&A box for you to type your questions into. I'll be following along, and we're going to answer questions at the end of Cullie's presentation. We are recording the webinar, and we will eventually post the link, and we'll post it on YouTube. Cullie Burris is our presenter today. He's the president of Double Up Digital, which is a digital marketing agency based in Atlanta. Double Up finds custom strategic solutions for firms of all sizes and creates unique campaigns for every client. And I got in touch with Cullie to ask him if he had stuff to talk about for our commercial brokers and agents, and he said yes. So let's hear it, Cullie. What do you got to say?
Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good week. Hopefully it's a shorter week than most. Gonna unload a lot of information today in regards to social media specific to the commercial real estate industry. So we have a lot of material to go through. So if we could hold all questions till the end, as Amy had mentioned. But without further ado, let's go ahead and share this. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
I can.
Okay.
So I think that's a good.
Perfect.
Yep. I'm not seeing anybody saying they can't. So.
Okay. Perfect. All right, guys. So as Amy mentioned, I'm with Double Up Digital. We're a firm based here in Atlanta, and we have some extensive experience in the real estate industry as well as commercial real estate. So hopefully we can provide some knowledge that will be useful to you guys. So starting off, one of the first things I want to talk about is really setting goals and objectives. You may have tried to post to social networks in the past, on a minimal basis, maybe every few weeks or so. But the truth is that social media is really much more complex than that. It really does take a true plan and getting your targeting down. So some of the three things that really you need to focus on are having a clear understanding of your target audience. Also a laser focus on which social channels are going to be the most beneficial for your business, as well as, where your prospects are actually spending their time. And then an action plan for outreach to that specific audience. And you may find that you have multiple audiences, but we'll get to that in a second. So how do we go about defining our audience? The first thing is you need to ask yourself is, who are you trying to reach? If you're looking for, a specific demographic, you really need to narrow down in on that. So, asking the second question, where are they? And then finally, what do they read about when they are online? So a lot of times I like to put myself in the user's shoes and really think about the content that I find useful myself. If you start there, typically you're gonna, have some quick wins. But starting with, the most frequently asked questions that come to you as well as your peers is a good place to start. Spend some time really outlining exactly who you're going to be interacting with online, and consider those different types of customers and segment them accordingly. Some examples of that might be, people only looking for land, or people who fall within a certain budget parameter, because you can use certain verbiage to speak to those different customers that really are going to match their browsing intent. Right, so we mentioned focusing on the appropriate social networks. Social media is only effective as the time that you put into it. And if you spend time on on channels that are not necessary, you're going to fail. So it's really important to narrow that focus to a small number of channels that you can really focus on and spend all of your available time and money on that. For commercial real estate professionals specifically, the 3 most effective ones are going to be LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, and each for different reasons, which we'll dive into shortly. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is really set our strategy and communication plan. So the first thing we really want to do is define the content. What will you post to each of these sites? Because different channels really have certain content works better on different channels. So you really need to think about what type of content you're going to be providing. So thought leadership, or is it going to be news, company updates, or something else entirely fun? Depending on what content you've chosen to create, you really need to look at the channels and determine which ones are going to be most appropriate. Defining your goals. Is this just a branding exercise? Are you really trying to generate leads? Are you angling for any different outreach opportunities? You really need to be clear about your goals, and that way you can make sure your content is geared to accomplish that goal. Right. Frequency of posting. This is very important to set in advance, and I'll get to this a little bit later, but you can, there's certain tools that you can use to automate your post and schedule them in advance, which is going to really save you a lot of time and make you a lot more efficient. But to determine what the impact on each channel is going to be, creating that calendar is going to help you really flesh all of that out. So who's going to be involved? Before diving into your promotional strategy, you really want to make sure you have defined your stakeholders. So who's in charge of the account? So it can be a lot more efficient if you have multiple people who are assigned to the account. It might make sense to have one person who's dedicated to posting fun graphics, another person who's really posting content on answering frequently asked questions. You really need to set, who's in charge of what roles in regards to your entire social media account. What guidelines do they need to follow? And also who's going to be producing that content. All right, so the first network I really want to talk about is LinkedIn. If there's one platform you're going to focus on in commercial real estate, it really should be LinkedIn. It's the single largest professional and B2B network in the world, and offers a lot of opportunities for you to engage with prospects, potential partners, vendors, and a lot more other people within the industry. People come to LinkedIn to share their insight. So really you can build a lot of thought leadership on LinkedIn by posting white papers and really generate a lot of brand awareness among the people on LinkedIn, and directly generate leads. Because a lot of people will, if you're posting content on a regular basis and really have established yourself as a thought leader on LinkedIn, people are going to share that. And if anybody's asking for a referral, you're probably going to be at the top of their mind.
Cullie,
yes.
I'm really sorry to interrupt. I know we're saving questions, but thought leadership is something that people like me hear and wonder what on earth it means.
So really establishing yourself as the expert in the industry. So I'm sure you've seen other people that you may follow on social media that just constantly post really insightful articles, things that they may have written or sharing other people's articles. And that really just makes sure and tells people that, you're really at the top of your game and you're really, at the cutting edge, and staying on current industry standards.
Thank you. That's a good, concise definition. Now I know.
Awesome. All right. So on LinkedIn, first question you're probably asking yourself is what to build? So you're really going to want to build up your personal profile to all-star level. So optimizing your profile, going in and making sure that you've filled out every certain field that they have on there. And that's really going to help you to create or make your profile stand out among the rest. And then from there, you're also going to want to create a business page that users can follow. So you'll have your own personal page as well as a business page on LinkedIn. And the business page is also where you can run targeted ad campaigns. The second question we'll want to ask is what to post. LinkedIn is a social platform where updates about your business, new properties, and recent deals make a lot of sense. But at the same time, articles with actionable advice related to your needs of your prospects is equally valuable. So consider posting about different topics and diversify your content. You don't want to get too narrow-minded where you're just posting the same type of content over and over, because people will start to begin to just get agnostic to that content. So then finally, you may be asking, when should you post and how often? So you should be updating your profile on LinkedIn at least once a week, preferably every 2 to 3 days. You want a more consistent schedule. You don't want to, one thing you really want to avoid is posting, for 2 weeks straight every 2 to 3 days, and then you go a month and a half without posting. That just shows your followers that you're really not being consistent and staying on the top of the game, and you might lose a little bit of social proof there. All right, so the types of posts. Some of the most effective content on LinkedIn is image-based. So even if you're just posting a link to an article, make sure you have a featured image that really kind of showcases and summarizes what that article might be about. And that pretty much goes with every social media platform. Visuals really help to engage people and invite them in to read more. All right, so personal updates is one aspect that you can do. So your personal profile is the first thing that your prospects are going to see. So whether you're doing direct outreach or researching another company, they will see your profile first. So your profile should be fully optimized to describe your role in the company, what you can personally offer to the for the company. And then also you want to make sure that you're linking to your property websites, your memberships and organizations, and regular content shares each week are also highly recommended for your personal profile. All right, another way to post is industry groups. So there's a lot of groups on LinkedIn that are very active and can be a great way to share resources. And oftentimes these are segmented into very specific industries and job roles. So you can share content there, reach new prospects, because a lot of people who are looking to get commercial real estate will try to become thought leaders themselves and learn more about the industry, and they will find some of these groups to see what the latest trends are. So having your name and your business pop up in those industry groups is definitely going to attribute to your social proof. Company updates. Your company page really is a brochure. So a line card of all the services and recent company news, but you can really leverage it by building a large following of employees, clients, partners, and vendors who can then share your content. So make sure when you do create your company page that you've invited every employee of the company. That way, they can, anytime that you share something from the business page, they can reshare that as well. And that's ultimately going to get you more shares across LinkedIn and more reach. All right, then we also have Pulse articles. So Pulse is the integrated publishing platform on LinkedIn. This really allows you to write and share your content with your followers, as well as a larger audience when it picks up enough momentum. All right, so I had mentioned LinkedIn groups for a minute ago, and there are some that are specific to the commercial real estate industry that we have found to be very beneficial in sharing content. So the first one I want to share with you is the International Council of Shopping Centers. They're a global trade association. I'm sure you guys might be familiar. But it's got over 70,000 members in 100 different countries and includes shopping center owners, developers, managers, investors, retailers, brokers, academics, and public officials. Second one I want to show you is piece Mrs. the Real Estate Networking Group. And so this one really is focused on building a global community around networking opportunities in the commercial real estate industry, and covering acquisitions, private lending, distressed notes, and so on. He's also got another one for the commercial real estate investment development property management side, which is also another great one that really focuses on investments, workouts, note purchases, and so on. Next, we have the National Real Estate Investor. They've been a leading authority on trends in the real estate markets. Also, the Corporate Real Estate Group. This is really for CRE professionals engaged in construction, design, and development. And much more than that, but very in-depth. Technology for commercial real estate. This is really sharing experience and asking questions. So this is a group that we found you can get a lot of prospects from, because people are looking for the latest trends and asking a lot of questions in this group. And you can really, if you answer the questions, can really become a thought leader there. Right, and the last two we have are the commercial real estate for executives and the social media commercial real estate. So I'm going to back up to the top, and if you guys just want to jot down these, I would definitely take a look at these on LinkedIn. All right, and if I went too fast, I'll make sure to include these links at the end. All right, so moving on from LinkedIn, let's talk about Twitter. So Twitter really has gained the reputation in recent years, used a lot by big brands, politicians, and celebrities. And if any way possible you can get big celebrities to retweet something, especially for millennials. Millennials really tend to gravitate towards what celebrities' opinions are. So really leveraging influencer marketing, which is, finding people who have a lot of social influence and getting them to promote your brand, is a great way to push the needle. So with Twitter, all Twitter accounts are created equal, and as such, you're going to need a unique account for your personal posts and for your brand. So you're definitely going to want to have one for yourself and then one for the company. What to post on Twitter. So if you just spend a couple minutes going through Twitter, you really get a quick idea of the type of content people are posting. So what should you be posting? The key is to make it really relevant and focused. A mix of content shared from your websites, comments on articles or news about commercial real estate, responses to comments or questions by other users will ensure maximum engagement. When to post. Because the limited exposure of any one tweet, you can post 3 to 5 times per day on Twitter. Twitter is one of the platforms that, as soon as something happens, you should be going to Twitter and posting on. It's more of a live update. You may know of this with certain larger companies like big software companies. If they have a problem amongst all of their software, they're going to immediately tweet that out, because a lot of people know that they can go get quick and accurate and up-to-date content on Twitter. Types of posts, again, images really increase the engagement by 10 to 25%, depending on the audience. So it's really important to integrate as many visuals as possible. Infographics really work well. And hashtags should definitely be used to tie your post to existing conversations. And one thing that I would suggest in terms of hashtags is, as you're comprising a post, go ahead and just do a quick search in the Twitter search bar, and you can kind of get an idea of the different hashtags that are coming up more popular. And there's some other tools that I'm going to show you at the end that you can do some research on to determine which hashtags are going to be the most beneficial. Right, so Twitter is all about volume. The average tweet remains visible in your timeline for as little as 5 minutes and no more than 15 minutes. So this is one of those reasons why we need to be posting more frequently on Twitter. You really want to gain traction by soliciting likes, retweets, and responses. So in order to do that, you're going to need to follow target audience members and industry leaders. So When you first start to build your profile, you're going to want to make a list of a bunch of thought leaders within the industry. So people that you already know about, go ahead and start following them. Any peers that you work closely with, or even competitors. You want to really engage as many and all people as possible on Twitter. And the more people you follow with Twitter, the rule is that if you follow them, they're going to follow you back. So really focus on trying to get quality people. Don't follow somebody just for the sake of getting follows, because people will look into your follower base, and if they notice that you just followed a bunch of random people just to get follows back, you're not going to have as much credibility. So really just focus on the people that really matter in your industry, and you should be good to go. So everybody thinks that on Twitter that you just need to be posting your own stuff, and that's really not the way it works. You really want to be engaging in other people's conversations. You can also do that by starting the conversation with your own posts, but go comment on other people's posts as well. And because as people are really into the industry and researching your company, and they're on social media, if they keep seeing your brand or even yourself talking or keeping the conversation going on a regular basis from platform to platform, it's really going to go a long way. Another thing that you can do on Twitter is run paid campaigns for high value information. So if there's something that you really need to get out there, you can run a Twitter ad campaign that can really amplify your message. So these paid campaigns really allow you to target users by several different criteria, including location, industry, title, who they follow, and their browsing habits. So this level of targeting is huge for reaching tenants and for leasing efforts. One thing to take note of is there is a lot of noise on Twitter. Being able to effectively rise above that noise is very important. But in order to do that, again, you need to have a lot of content, daily posting, and a large enough following to push your message at scale. Because the larger following you have, the more retweets you're going to get on a regular basis, and the larger reach you're going to have. All right, so some of the top Twitter CRE accounts to follow are the CCIM Institute, Robert Pliska, who is the owner and managing director at SVN Property Investment Advisors, Michael Lagazzo, who's the ICSC chair, Barbie Reuter, who's the president of P-Core, Diane Danielson, Chief Founding Operating Officer of SVN, Michael Bohl, who's the founder of Bohl Realty and host of the CRE show, Jonathan Schultz, who's the co-founder of Onyx Equities, Coy Davison, who's the Senior Vice President at Colliers International, Duke Long, who's the Managing Partner at Pure Ventures, Jeremy Neuer, who's a corporate real estate broker and a CRE blogger at Neurspace, Alan Buchanan, who's the commercial real estate broker and founder of Location Advice for Owners and Occupants. And then and I'll make sure to get you the guys this list because this is definitely a good starter pack for who to follow. But one of the most effective ways to drive further engagement is by using the hashtags that I mentioned previously. So here's some of the most popular hashtags we've used in the past that's gotten us the most reach. So I'll let you guys take a minute to jot these down. Obviously, with the hashtags, you want to make it, don't add 18 different hashtags to one post. Really, my rule is using a maximum of 2. But if there's multiple hashtags that really make sense, that's what you want to focus on. So to me, you can get more reach with more and more hashtags to me, but to me, that's a spammy tactic, and your followers are really going to appreciate it if you just make it clean and concise. All right, so moving on from Twitter now to Facebook. So as we all know, Facebook is the world's largest social network, and one where you can watch all the cat videos and that you want. It also happens to be the largest collection of brand pages and private groups as well, and if leveraged properly, can be really beneficial. And a great opportunity to engage with your target audience and drive activity on your CRE web properties. So again, what to build on Facebook? Really, you should not do any efforts on your personal profile with Facebook. Rather, create that brand page that allows you to build a list of followers, run advertisements, and invite friends to like. Because Facebook works much differently than the other platforms, and your personal profile doesn't carry as much weight on Facebook as the other ones. So utilizing the powerful group tools, you can really engage with other people geographically or based on their prospect status. So what to post? Much like Twitter, visuals are very effective. Engagement rates are about 50% higher than simple text links. So always make sure you're including some sort of graphic. This might be a good time to determine if you guys have a graphics department within your company and something that you can utilize. There's also really effective tools like Canva.com, and that's CANVAA. That really makes it easy and has a great library of images that you can use. So that's one tool I would definitely check out when looking to post on Facebook. So you also want to make sure to include a mixture of content from your website and links to other interesting information. You do not want to be too self-serving, really, on any of the social media platforms. So obviously post content, articles that are on your site, but also, share other people's articles. There's a plethora of different industry blogs that I'm sure all of you are already following. So, share content from all of those different sites. Don't just share from the same site over and over, because that content will tend to get stale. So just try to be diverse in whose content you're sharing. When to post. So with Facebook, it's more kind of like LinkedIn, posting at least every 2 to 3 days. But it also depends on the nature of the business. I think 2 to 3 days is pretty good for the commercial real estate industry. But more frequent posts can be effective in capturing an audience otherwise not seeing your posts. So in my opinion, on Facebook, you really can't post too much. I would avoid posting like Twitter, where you're doing it 5 times a day. But you couldn't go wrong with posting once a day if you really had enough content to do so. So one of the biggest challenges on Facebook is getting heard. By average, the average brand's pages posts are only seen between 2% and 8% of their followers, meaning that with 1,000 followers, only 20 to 80 people are actually going to see that. So even with a healthy engagement rate of 2 to 3%, you're getting 1 to 2 clicks on an average basis. So getting the number of followers on your Facebook page is very important. One thing I would highly recommend is, if you have the budget, run a page-like campaign. It's a campaign solely designed to boost the number of followers to your business page, and is a quick and cost-efficient way to build that following. To do it organically takes a lot of time and effort. So I always recommend, especially in a new campaign, that you run a page-like campaign to help jumpstart everything. And if you were to do a simple Google search for Facebook page-like campaign, you would see Facebook's got some pretty good documentation, and it's pretty straightforward. All right, so one of the things we want to do is engage with audiences directly on Facebook. So if someone comments on a post, likes or shares content, do not be afraid to engage with that. Oftentimes people will just post stuff, and then people will ask questions in the comment section, and those comments go unanswered. It really, again, the word of today has been social proof. But if other users see that you're constantly engaging the users on your Facebook page and answering those questions, it really says something about your brand. So, don't be afraid to comment and give that insight. Same like LinkedIn, Facebook does offer a bunch of private groups that you can share your content. So, find ones that are really specific to what you do within the industry. These groups can really drive traffic, a lot of good traffic back to, white papers that you have, photographics, blog articles on your website. So to avoid open promotion, be sure to add value to these posts. Work with other brands on Facebook. A lot of people are like, hey, I don't want to engage with competitors, but you can like other brand pages, you can share each other's content, and the more that you share other people's content, the more they're going to be inclined to share yours. So it's kind of shocking when you get a competitor sharing your content. At the same time, we're all in there to provide value to our customers. So that, again, at least for my personal opinion, that if you're not afraid to share their content, that's saying something. And again, you'd be surprised, the more you share their content, the more they'll share yours. So, and that's part of building up your social profile is getting link shares, and that's what's going to give you a lot of social authority. Another great thing to do, and this kind of ties into the page like campaign. This is another type of paid campaign is boosting your content. So like we said, even if you have 1,000 followers, you're only going to get 2 to 8% of those people to see any organic posts. But by boosting your content, you can really greatly improve the numbers that see your article. So you can even do a small amount. Running a $10 promotion can really get a lot of reach and as well get more followers. So a combination of paid posts, active outreach, frequent posting is really going to help improve these reach numbers, engagement, and really help to start generating a large audience for your content. So with the 3 major social networks that we covered, there's been one consistent theme across all of them, and that is content. Again, that comes back to the first part of this webinar where we talked about planning, and content is a large part of that. So one of having content, you always want to be posting as much content on your website and driving them to your website. So rather than just taking unique content and posting it directly to the social media channel, make sure you post it on the blog of your website or whatever part of your website that you're sharing content. That way, when somebody clicks on the link, they're being brought back to your website, and then they will have a much higher chance of wanting to view some of your other content, which is going to start building up your brand authority and social proof yet again. All right, so here's a couple things to keep in mind when you are blogging. So write about the right things. Your blog really needs to be relevant, educational, and entertaining. If you guys are finding yourself where you're just writing 300 words just for the sake of getting an article out, you should stop. If you don't have the time to really drum up great content, you might want to consider outsourcing to a content writer, at least giving them bullet points on what to focus on, but really creating content that is going to be useful to the end user. One, by providing useful content, people are going to be more inclined to share it, which is going to, one, from an SEO perspective, search engine optimization is going to get more links pointing back to your site. You want to make sure that this content is answering key questions, and again, just really being valuable to the end user. If you post the content, you read it, and if you yourself do not find it useful, then you might want to go back to the drawing board. I would much rather see you posting less amount of content that's more qualitative than quantity. 8 posts that are 300 words long that don't add any value are not going to do anything for you in the long run. So spend the time creating valuable content. Another great thing that you can do is writing guest posts to build a larger audience. So a lot of industry blogs invite people to submit guest posts because, one, it's free content for them, and if it's valuable, they want their users to see it. And so this is a great way. Typically, most of these guest posts will allow an author box, so you can give a brief background of yourself at the company, and then also include a link back to your company. That way, if people start seeing your name coming up often and across multiple different blogs, you're going to really start to build your brand there. All right, so blog promotion. Just because you created the content, that doesn't mean your job has stopped there. And that's where all these social media platforms come into play. So the social media channels that we've already discussed play a major role, and you should be sending your highest quality content to existing contacts via email. Reach out to thought leaders and other site owners who might benefit from your content and ask them to share a link. So you cannot share enough. Always leverage your existing relationships and get them to share it. It'll go a long way. A lot of times people are scared and they just don't want to bother their friends or family to share this stuff, but you never know what tertiary connection they might have that's ultimately might end up to gaining use of business. All right, so some of the social media tools I've been promising you. These tools can really help you streamline your efforts and ultimately reduce the time spent each day managing your social accounts, improve your reach to target audiences, provide key insights to inform how you run your campaigns, and fit your budget and provide measurable results for the investment. So the first tool I want to share with you is Buffer. Buffer is a great tool used for scheduling. It installs a button on your social media pages, and that's a widget to your browsers that allows you to easily share content with a click of a button. So if you use Google Chrome, I would highly suggest getting the Buffer Chrome extension. This extension, again, if you're browsing another website and you come across an article that you really think would be beneficial to your end users, one click of a button, you can add it to Buffer, and that'll get added to your queue to post. The next tool is Hootsuite. Hootsuite has been around a very long time and offers similar features to Buffer, but has a little bit better and more robust user interface. There are a lot of limitations in the free version. I would recommend, if you're going to be doing this often, getting the paid version, but it does provide tracking and reporting, and it's just a great overall tool. We've been using it for years. Sprout Social is another great one. It really does go above and beyond of what Hootsuite and Buffer can offer. It's really designed for businesses as a whole, but it allows a lot more for tracking keywords, has a social content calendar, unlimited reporting features, and location and keyword monitoring. It's a little bit more expensive, but if something that you can afford, it's well worth it. Another great tool here is Mention. So one of the most important things you can do is engage with other people, as I mentioned before. So Mention is a great tool for scouring the web and looking for mentions across different brands, stakeholders, or properties, and alerting you to them so you can take action and reply as soon as possible. So you can set up alerts to find the content that you're really looking for, so you can make sure you're constantly engaging with the fresh new content that's out there. All right, then there's another tool called Social Mention, and this is really a search engine for social media. So this is one of those tools that you can find some good hashtags within the industry, as well as finding different content that you can share. So I definitely recommend you playing around with that tool as well. All right, so finally, we need to talk about metrics and reporting. So you now spent all this time and posting content, engaging with other people, and the question is how effective is it being? And there's really only one metric that we should be looking at, and that's ROI. So how many sales did you generate from the leads on social media? Now, there's one caveat. A lot of people think that social media is going to be your your main lead generation tool. And that's really not the case. And here's why. When people are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, they're getting on there, yes, to find new content, but not a specific piece of content. If someone's looking for a specific piece of content, they're most likely going to go to Google, type in a certain keyword, and find a listing that most matches their search intent. So if you think that social media is going to be your most dominating lead generating channel, that's not the case. It is very supplemental to other campaigns, and it's great in building brand awareness and building that social proof. But it can drive leads. But don't, again, I just want to make sure that, if you're investing all of your time and money only into social media, you should definitely look into other ways to generate leads online. But with that being said, there's 3 tiers that you should really look to measuring your efforts. So low engagement. At the most basic level, how many people are seeing your posts? And with each of the platforms, you can get insights on which posts are performing better. And especially with Facebook, users are more likely to see your content if they have engaged with it in the past or others are engaging with it now. So just take a look at the number of views, how many people are looking at that post, the number of followers, or the number of people are following you increasing on a regular basis. So at a minimal level, the views and the followers are 2 aspects that you should be looking at. All right, so middle level engagement. You really want to be, this is how often people are actively engaging with the content you share. So there's a lot of forms people can do that. The lowest form is the like, meaning that someone saw your post, most likely didn't even click into the post and just liked the title and liked that post right there. There's also clicks on the links, there's shares and retweets and comments. The latter there are the most highly valuable, and look for a 1% or higher engagement rate as a good benchmark for your posts. So retweets, if you're not familiar, retweets are the ultimate form of sharing on Twitter. So as other users further broadcast your measure, you can track and save and respond to these to encourage greater engagement. Likes are the mid-level engagement action that show up as metric on your reach and as feedback from your followers that they like what you're doing. And then shares are just like retweets, are very important because they amplify your message to a wider audience. All right, so the last one we have is high engagement. So at the upper tier, we have the users that not only consume your content, but also follow through on them. So they visit your website, clicking your call to action buttons, and then converting on your forms or making a phone call. Even with a strong website conversion rate, an average engagement rate on social media is as low as 0.01%. So every action that you take to customize and improve your content, grow your audience, and make sure everything you post is relevant will increase that number. All right, so one example of that is requesting more information. So again, somebody reaching out and requesting more info. A download, so if you had a white paper or an ebook or some sort of video content, this is a strong engagement action. And then also sign-ups, so email newsletter sign-ups, webinars like this one are great indicators that your content is working well. And so in conclusion, social media marketing for commercial real estate is a potentially high value activity that's going to allow you to better engage with your target prospects and build an overall better audience. And again, to Amy's point, it's really going to turn yourself into a thought leader. The whole idea here is, if you have Joe Smith who has just started researching commercial real estate, looking for different properties, and he's just trying to familiarize himself with the process, if they keep seeing your brand pop up over and over again, they're going to be more inclined to go with your company at the end of the day when they're actually ready to make a decision. Because you have to think about the different parts of the buying cycle. So delivering content that's going to be educational to someone who's at the top of the buying cycle, as well as the bottom. So thinking about all the different types of content that you that's going to be useful to the end user at each stage of the process. Hope that wasn't information overload, but that concludes what we have, and I guess we can open it up to questions.
That was a lot of information. That was great. You mentioned earlier, Cullie, about the paid posts and paid campaigns. Where do you find the information on things like the rates and what you get for how much money and things like that on the various?
So when it comes to these platforms, they really work off a cost per click model. And with social media advertising, it really is kind of hard to project what your costs are going to be. Facebook actually does the best job of that. And when you go to build a campaign within Facebook, it will provide some projections of what your potential traffic is going to be, as well as the cost per click. But you really don't know what that true cost per click is going to be until you start collecting the data, until you actually start running the campaign. So each platform is a little bit different. Facebook, in my experience, is where I can get the lowest cost per click, so you can get the biggest reach. Then comes Twitter, and then LinkedIn is definitely the most expensive, typically because it's the B2B market, and you're really nailing in on the people who are going to engage with your content the most, especially if it's B2B. Does that answer your question? I know that was,
No, yeah, it does. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, it does. And then it just, I have another question here, which I'll go to. Potential use, here's somebody asks, tuned in a little late. Did I miss anything regarding potential use of YouTube, Instagram, and podcasts? Seems like everything is headed towards video and audio content.
So one thing that is great for video content is doing frequently asked questions. You really want to do short content, nothing, especially if it's on YouTube. And then for longer form content, you want to do things like webinars, like we're doing today. So in terms of podcasts, it's something that I haven't gotten into in the commercial real estate industry, but I am seeing a lot more of it. I have a buddy here who is in the commercial real estate industry, and he listens to a number of different podcasts. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is in terms of lead generation. I feel that podcasts are more geared towards people who are in the commercial real estate industry and might not be as beneficial for lead generation. Mm-hmm. So in terms of lead generation, that's why kind of we covered the Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn as being the most beneficial for commercial real estate.
Interesting. And I mean, this seems like it takes a lot of time. How do you sort of figure out the balance between how much time you spend on this and how much time you spend on your actual business? What, especially somebody who's trying to grow a business, that seems like it would be a very difficult thing to sort through.
It really is. And that's the biggest problem most companies run into, is they know that they need to be doing social media. They just don't have the time to do it themselves. One thing that I would highly recommend is leveraging free interns. Interns are desperate to get a job during the summer. And whether you're doing a paid internship or free internship, you're going to get some great stuff out of them because, one, these millennials know how to work their way around social media. So I would definitely make sure that if you're going to go that route with an intern, that they're there on a regular basis and they are the right person that can write well. Another thing that people also do is hire companies like myself to help with this process, because one of the biggest things is the planning and making sure that you have created a bunch of content that is going to be useful to the different types of users. So going through that discovery process is very important, and companies like ours and digital agency have a lot of experience in streamlining that process.
All right. Couple more questions here. Someone says, can you recommend sources online or off for finding and qualifying interns? That's a good specific question.
Yeah. There's a number of different websites, kind of very similar to monster.com for interns. I would suggest doing a Google search. I think it's interns.com that provides, a lot of interns. It's how we get our interns here.
Huh.
So there's a bunch of different intern posting sites. And then another recommendation I would have is leveraging your friends and family and posting on your personal social media profiles. Because everybody's always trying to get their son or daughter that next internship.
Someone asks, when someone makes a post about seeking services we offer, do we engage publicly through a PM, private message, or both?
That's a great question.
It is
so I would first post publicly saying, thank you for your request. Please check your direct messages for more information, and then send them a personal message. That way, on the outside, everybody can see that you've engaged with them quickly and we're responsive, and then that you're following up, more privately.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, we've got time for some more questions if anyone has any. No? You've been awfully thorough, I have to say. This is really great information.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, it doesn't look like anybody's typing anything. So I guess that being the case, no, here. What is your thought on VAs? I don't even know what a VA is. Michael, could you be a little more specific? I'm guessing he's typing here. What is your thought on VAs? Virtual assistants. Thank you.
Are you speaking in terms of having chat on your website?
Or in terms of hiring virtual assistants to help you with your social media, maybe?
Okay. There is a great website you can that you can use called Upwork, and that has a bunch of freelancers that you can choose from. And these freelancers tend to be a little bit less expensive, as well as you can see their past work. So it's a great way. You can they have ratings based on their job success, and can be another great way to bring somebody in to help.
The questions are starting to come in again. How to handle multiple audiences, like multifamily and residential farming? I'm not sure if they meant to type residential farming, but backyard chickens are the new black in Austin, so maybe that is what he means. Multiple audiences. Yeah, so that's a lot of people's businesses have, different departments that don't necessarily line up, which sounds like it's going to double your social media work.
Essentially, and that's kind of how you have to look at it. That's just the unfortunate nature of that situation. So even if you have multiple audiences within a certain segment of your business, you're going to need to look at that social media campaign as two different campaigns. So creating content for both those types of users, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like it. The targeting aspect, I think, sounds like the most important thing that people might be missing when they start off. They just kind of throw information about their company up on the web in various and sundry places, and then just hope that a bird flies into their net.
Yep. That's the biggest oversight. So, really identifying your three main types of people who are going to engage with your content on a regular basis, and then creating content specifically for them, and making sure that and running a test, even before you post it publicly. Send it over to a few friends that fall within that criteria, or, other people that you might know, and see if it resonates with them. If not, then it's probably not going to resonate with the rest of the social media world. So testing is always great.
All right. Someone says, you recommended having business social channels. is there a suggested way to transition your business-oriented followers on a personal Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., into your business account? That's another good question.
That is a great question, and something that we struggle with a lot. And really, it's about constantly sharing from your personal profile what's been shared on the business profile. So after you post something on your business profile, you want to make sure you're retweeting or resharing whatever content your business page has posted. And then encouraging, because when you do a retweet or reshare, you can actually add your own comment as well. Mm-hmm. So, encourage saying things like, hey, please follow our business page, include a word that it is actionable. So by using the word follow, we know that we want them to follow our page, or say click or like our page, say an action that they can actually take. And that will help you get some better metrics on transferring those people over.
Fantastic. That's great advice. All right. Well, I've still got my question, but at one point, would one convert a private profile to a page profile on Facebook? At what point?
So you want to keep your private profile. I'm assuming you're talking about your personal profile. Yeah. You want to keep your personal profile and your page profile completely separate. So you're never going to want to convert one to the other. They're two separate entities. So you're going to, through your personal profile, create that business page profile. If you haven't done so already, I highly recommend it.
Okay, great. All right. Well, that brings us to almost 11 o'clock. So I think I still got my question box open if anybody has any last minutes, but we'll wrap up. Cullie, thank you so much. This was really great. Hopefully we can have you in again for some more presentations, because I think this is information that's really, really good for our audience. So this is our last webinar for the year, everyone, and we'll start up again in March. We do webinars from March through November. And then in the interim, we also have winter meeting here in Austin. Winter meeting this year is from February 9th to the 13th, and we're working on our commercial content right now. So if you have suggestions or requests, you can always contact me. I'm also going to be looking for topics for webinars next year. So I'm always happy to hear from folks. If you have a speaker or a topic you think it would be good to put up as a webinar, don't hesitate to let me know. My email is agamber@texasrealtors.com, or you can always just call the office here at TAR and ask to speak to Amy, and they'll put me through. I'm the only one here. We will eventually post a link to this webinar and the slideshow on the website. If I had to guess, I don't think it will happen before Thanksgiving. So I'm going to try and get this up by next week, but it's very quiet at the office here. We're missing a lot of folks. Cullie, thanks again very much. Really appreciate it. This was really great. And thanks everybody else for tuning in, and we're gonna sign off, and if I don't see you before then, I will see everybody next year. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.